Firefly, if you're trying to age regress another adult cure, you missed your target by just a little. We opened this week with our protagonist looking at some old photos of Mashiro that, for whatever reason, did include that point in time when she was a bunny fairy. Though what it did include was her first meeting with Ageha. In particular, they had the moment when they officially became friends underneath a tree that seemed to have something stuck in it, but probably shouldn't get into spoilers just yet. Regardless, they figured that the tree had to do something with how they became friends in the first place, so they just kind of randomly decided to go on a road trip to find it. With that, we got our first few shots of some really nice looking scenery in this episode. Yeah, while the animation throughout this was overall just kind of standard, I will give credit to some of these really nice backgrounds that I'd imagine they based off of some real life locations. Anyway, they stopped by the residence of some old lady named Setsuko, who might have been Ageha's grandmother. I mean, she called her Bachan, which means granny, though that also could have been like a term of endearment. Whatever, she was voiced by Light's mom, so she's probably not going to be that important anyways. What was important were the chickens she was raising.
Princess.
Al, never trust those bastards. You never know when they're gonna strike. Anyway, they showed Mrs. Yagami the photo with the tree and asked if she knew where it was, but the years hadn't been kind to her long-term memories. Thus, they decided to just go look for it on their own.
シロも連れてってくれんかね。了解です。シロ
Yeah, y'all could learn a thing or two from him, considering he's been through a few hero journeys himself. Actually, he wasn't the guy who would eventually become the greatest archer in all of FGO, find me, but rather this terrifying looking goat. Seriously, y'all don't always have to be accurate with those eyes. Granted, it was a nice touch to have the Skylandians not recognize the animal, and thus not realizing the fear this thing exuded.
You black-hearted
They began their search for the tree, which led to, admittedly, the funniest gag in the episode, with Tsubasa clearly wanting to play on some swings more than the actual baby in their group. But then we just kind of got a pointless montage of them searching all over the village for the tree. I mean, again, they did have some really nice scenery throughout this episode, but it didn't really lead to anything plot significant until the very end, when some wayward wind blew away Elle's hat, reminding the childhood friends of a similar incident. They all regrouped at Setsuko's cottage and told the old lady about what they had remembered. As it turned out, Mashiro's hat had also been blown away by the wind right into the tree that they were looking for. They of course just assumed Ageha got it down, but Mashiro clearly wasn't wearing it, so they had no idea where it could have been. Y'all would suck at finding Waldo. Like seriously, y'all just said it got stuck in the tree, so why wouldn't you assume that it would still be there, if not on Mashiro? Anyway, this incident finally dislodged something in the old lady's senile mind that wouldn't turn out so great. Welp, there's another tree of memories that the Healing Good team failed to save. Also, we finally got a new eye catch that included Cure Majesty, and a clever callback to when they originally got the Majestic Chronicle. But yeah, the tree they had been looking for had not only been right under their noses near the swings from earlier, but also had been knocked down by a typhoon the year prior. Fortunately, the childhood friends were just glad that they were able to remember their time with it, and even have a funny memory involving it. Because, as it turned out, the reason they never got Mashiro's hat down was because Chip and Dale had already claimed it. Shut up, bitch! We're trying to eat up here! However, when Ageha tried to get the hat down, she ended up sliding down the tree, which, yeah, that's probably just gonna cause some wood burn, so no big deal really. But Mashiro, being the sweet little marshmallow she was, wanted to get her checked up in a really sweet exchange with her now new friend. They thanked the tree for all of the memories, as well as Chip and Dale, who I guess they were trying to suggest this squirrel was one of them, even though the average lifespan of the Japanese squirrel is about 10 to 15 years. And they did look like pretty old squirrels in that flashback, but whatever, in this show, they are also the most powerful beings, so maybe they're also immortal or something. That said, they couldn't join in the fight this week that just kind of happened. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating. Spearhead just entered from stage left and launched an attack with zero build-up, as he didn't even appear in any of the previous scenes. Really, the most notable part of all of this was them finally doing a 5-member version of the transformation sequence, which as usual was just kind of busy and all over the place. Anyway, they fought a scarecrow monster, which is just kind of standard whenever the Precure go into the countryside, and it was just another okay fight. Yeah, mostly just the usual fare, including Tsubasa doing his princess carry, which seems to have become the kid's main gimmick at this point. And then Mashiro took center stage by destroying the monster's bamboo spears through multiple ranged attacks, even though they probably could defeat it with their group finisher right after Agya froze it in place. But then, I guess they could shoehorn in some quote-unquote development for Mashiro, learning how to be more assertive like Agya, which again, she didn't do much other than slide down a tree. But yeah, they defeated the monster in a longer than necessary fight.
なぜ私たちを狙うの?
お前たちが知る必要はない。
Also, why does your face look so weird? That's also only for me to know. Also, shut up. And with that, the episode ended with them looking at the photos they took that would become precious memories and look forward to making more in the near future. This was yet another cute, sweet, inconsequential filler episode. Yeah, really nothing much more to say here other than...
いろいろ見たりやったりして楽しかったです。
I mean, don't get me wrong, I always appreciate a nice Mashiro episode where she gets to show off her more amiable qualities, and it is nice to see her interact with her established friend before Sora entered the picture. Though, on that note, I'm really hoping that the following episodes start to bring her and the main story back into focus after all this fluff. While I'll admit that some filler episodes do have a place in most TV shows, it does help, especially in a show like this, to have some stronger hooks to at least justify their existence. In the case of this episode, it is clear that they wanted to build a childhood friendship between Ageha and Mashiro. However, since we already know about some of the more dramatic moments, including how it briefly ended, they ended up going back to how it all started in a rather uneventful way. I mean, I guess it works well enough in establishing Mashiro's admiration for Ageha, which led to her developing a drive to become as strong as her childhood hero, especially after she met a real hero girl in Sora. But the initial act of heroism that inspired her was just Ageha climbing a few inches up a tree before gently falling down it.
It's no big deal, really.
I mean, I wasn't expecting like a dramatic fall from atop the tree, but they could at least have done something a little more exciting, like saving her from the demon goat or something. As a result, her big climactic scene in the fight just kind of fell flat on top of not making that much sense. Now, all that said, I also can't say I disliked this episode, as there were some really nice backgrounds, and even a few fun moments here and there, but as has been the case as of late, there also just wasn't that much that stood out, making for overall easily one of the most mid of mid episodes. Next week, even though it's both a Tsubasa and Aoyama animated episode, it will at least return to the main plot, which by this point, I just want something to happen to it and Sora. If you haven't seen it yet, we actually managed to release a video about a scary clown on Friday the 13th. Yeah, I swear, I didn't even realize that there was going to be a Friday on the 13th of this particular month until almost like the last minute, but it made for the perfect release date for an analysis of this franchise's closest equivalent to Jason Voorhees, even though he kind of acts more like Freddy, but you get the idea. Check it out and look forward to maybe one more Halloween themed video before the end of this month. And until next time though, for now my friends, and okay, who let the demon go down off his pen?